Now, it took me a long time to be able to do that, much longer than I ever would have expected, because the harmonica is such an easy instrument to make a sound on. I mean, if you can breathe, you can make a sound on the harmonica. And at the time I started playing, I was actually a student at the Eastman School of Music, very prestigious music school. I was not a harmonica student at the Eastman School of Music. I was a double bass major. So the double bass is the largest of the string family, the one that's usually on the right of the conductor when you're looking at him. So how does one go from being a classical bass player to being a blues harp player? We often call the harmonica the blues harp. Well, it all started with my dad. He loved this blues musician named Jimmy Reed. Jimmy Reed was a great singer, great harmonica player, great guitarist. And so Dad was inspired, and he said he's going to go out and learn the harmonica. So he went out and he bought several different types of harmonicas. And like so many of the hobbies that we decide to do, the harmonicas end up sitting on a table for about 3 months, and then they moved into a drawer. The summer before my sophomore year at Eastman, I was home, I was a teenager, and I was bored, so I'm going through drawers that maybe I shouldn't be going through, and I come across the harmonicas that he had. So I opened up the box, and to my surprise, the harmonica in the case was wrapped up in the directions on how to play it. So I read the instructions, and by the afternoon, I was playing folk songs on it, you know. So if you all take nothing else away from this talk, let it be this. Whenever you're starting a new project, if it comes with instructions, read the instructions. You'll get off to a much better start. So I figured that this is not going to be that difficult. I mean, they tell you how to do it right in the box. Now, I can tell you that my double bass did not come with instructions. No, you had to pay a lot of money to a prestigious music school for that. But I thought it would be very easy to master this. And the size and portability of this, and the fact that it seemed at the time to be much easier than learning the double bass is probably the reason why now, instead of being a double bass player, I'm just a double bass owner. So when I first started playing, I'd pick things up so quickly that I figured I was really, really good. I was not. But the reason why I thought I was I would go out to jam sessions in Rochester, New York, where the school is based, and I'd go into these jam sessions, and I would get this great response from the crowd. They would be cheering, they would be coming up to me after the show and telling me how good I was, and I thought I had arrived. It wasn't until I heard another harmonica player in town, a guy named Rockin' Red, heard him play, I realized just how much I had to learn. But I still thought it was going to be easy. I still thought it was going to be very simple. But this pattern would keep repeating itself over and over again. So I would get to a point where I thought I had it down, and then I would hear something that would change my mind. In a way, it got a little bit frustrating because it seemed like mastery was always beyond my reach. Every time you would climb up a little bit, somebody would move the goalpost. Got to the point where I even wondered if I wanted to keep playing. But then I saw something that completely changed the way I think about this. So one of the really fun parts of my job at Jazz St. Louis is that I get to meet the musicians and interact with them. And some of these musicians, you can imagine, are my heroes. So when we presented the legendary artist, Herbie Hancock, at the Blanche M. Toohill Performing Arts Center, I had to meet him. Now, a good time to meet and interact with the artist is around the sound check. Now, for those of you that don't know, the sound check is a ritual that takes place before a concert where, as the name would suggest, the artists go out and they check out all the sound equipment on stage. They make sure the microphones are working well. They make sure that the amplifiers are all functioning. They make sure that everybody has their monitor mix. So as the lead singer, I may want to have the piano and the bass in my monitors. The bass player may want just drums, but everybody gets their own mix, and they have to make sure that it's right. So you can imagine that if you're on the road night after night, this gets to be something that you want to go through pretty quickly. You just want to come in, check out, and make sure that everything is functioning, and then get back to the hotel so that you can rest before the show. Sometimes the lead singer or the leader of the group won't even come to the sound check because they'll have technicians who know what their preferences are, so they can stand in. So I wasn't even sure if Herbie Hancock was going to be there, but I figured I would take a chance. You really know you've made it when you have somebody who can do that for you. So I went over there and I saw the most astonishing thing when I came in. Herbie Hancock was rehearsing 8 measures of a song called Watermelon Man. Now, this is a song that he wrote back in 1962. And he was working on 8 measures of it. Now, once again, for those of you who aren't musicians, I think I better show you about how long 8 minutes is, okay? So you can help me out on this one, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. That's it. That's 8 measures of a little Duke Ellington. So you see, that's not a very long period of time. That's not a long section of music, but they rehearsed this for 2 hours. 2 hours. Herbie Hancock would sit at the piano, and he would play through it, and then he would stop and he'd scratch his beard, and he'd talk to the musicians, and then they would go through and try it again a little bit differently. He kept exploring. He kept trying to find a new way, a new approach to it. And that's when it hit me. Mastery isn't about the destination, it's about the journey. Because all of us jazz musicians, we will all tell you unequivocally that Herbie Hancock is a master. As a matter of fact, he's even been named an NEA Jazz Master, the highest honor that that's bestowed on a jazz musician. And if he hasn't got there, if he's still trying to figure things out, then maybe nobody ever gets there. That's why he's Herbie Hancock. That's why he's one of the greatest musicians that's ever lived. The great musicians are always striving, always trying to improve things. When someone asked the renowned cellist, Pablo Casals, why he continued practicing at 90 years old, you know what he said? He said, because I think I'm making some progress. It's another example of the master being the student. And when you think about it, that's where all the fun is anyway. The fun comes from learning something new. The fun comes from making that incremental improvement. The fun comes from doing something you couldn't do the day before. Like I said, on the harmonica, it's really easy. You know, you can just breathe into it. And then you can maybe do some songs that you've heard on the radio where bad harmonica players are actually playing the harmonica when they shouldn't, like Billy Joel's Piano Man. And then you lower it down where you can get one note at a time, and that lets you do scales. And then you learn different scales, like modes. And then you learn things like tongue blocking, where you block certain notes with your tongue so you can get octaves. Learn to bend notes so that you can get the notes in between the notes that are in the harmonica. Overblows. Now look, I am not distinguished among the harmonica community, but good harmonica players will tell you that I am a good harmonica player. And there's so much more that I have to learn on this thing, but that's okay, because it's all about the daily journey. I keep on taking this thing that's so simple, that seems like you can know everything about it, and every day I find out something new. It's one of the most enjoyable experiences that I've ever had. Now, there's a flip side to this, and that is that once you think you know everything that there is to know about something, that's when you're on the decline. I've seen many students out there who have had a level of success and they've been seduced by that, and they stop working. They stop trying to improve. All they really want is they want somebody to give them acknowledgement of the level of mastery that they feel that they've achieved. Those are the people who never even scratch the surface on their potential. Sometimes it happens because you do get that initial success, and you get relaxed. We had a student who came in to our Jazz U program. It's a program that we have that teaches students how to play jazz, how to improvise in small groups of about 6 to 7. And Nathan was a bass player, and he came in as a middle schooler. This program was a program for high schoolers. And the first time I saw him perform, after he'd performed publicly, like everybody in the crowd came up to him and told him how great he was, told him how awesome he was. And I'll tell you, this kid was a total badass, even at this very young age. But I got concerned. And I went over and I told him, I said, look, everybody's always going to be telling you that you're really good, because you are. But don't get seduced by that. What you want to do is you want to stay focused on achieving an ever greater level of excellence. Now, fortunately, I didn't have to tell Nathan this, because he already had this desire within him. He already had discovered the joys of making that daily improvement. And he was on a quest, a never-ending quest to get better. And I'm very pleased to say that just recently, he performed at the Village Vanguard, which for us jazz folks is like Mecca. And he was there with the noted trumpeter Terrell Stafford as a part of his quintet. The people who are the eternal students, they're the ones who keep growing, they're the ones who keep succeeding. And we see this in other areas of our life. I can remember when my daughter came up to me when she was young and said she wanted to learn guitar. And so, being the good father that I was, I said, you know, I'm going to help her to develop good practice technique. So every night we would sit down and I would help her practice. Now, as I'm telling you this, you all are probably realizing that this is a terrible idea, because I would tell her what she should do. She would tell me that she wanted to do it her way. I would remind her that I have a degree in this. She was unimpressed with my credentials, and it turned into a battle royale. Needless to say, she stopped playing guitar. And years later, she came to me and she said she wanted to study voice. And I decided that I could be a better father than I was before. So this time, I let her do her own thing. I stayed out of it. She had a teacher, let her work with her teacher. I would go to her recitals. I would go to her performances. I wouldn't offer too much in the way of critique or praise, just let her know that I believed in her and I was proud of her and that she should keep working. I wanted to be a better father. It was something that I felt I knew. But the way I got better is by trying something different, by trying to learn something new. I think that we all want to get to the top of the mountain. We all want to feel that we've mastered the thing, that we know everything that there is to know about it. But if you do that, I can guarantee you that you're going to miss out on something beautiful. Because once you stop learning, that's when you stop growing. Albert Einstein even said that once you stop learning, that's when you start dying. So what's that thing in your life that you feel like you've got down, you feel like you've mastered it, that maybe is ripe for a little more study? Maybe it's something that you've been doing for so long that you don't even think about it anymore. You're just going through the motions. You're just playing your greatest hits. Maybe it's something that's so simple that you think it's easy to know, or you don't think that you need to think much about it, like running, right? You lace up your shoes, and out the door you go. But we all know If you study it, you work at it, you can always run faster or longer or just get more enjoyment out of it. Imagine if we treated all aspects of our lives the same way the great musicians approach their art. Imagine if people were on a never-ending quest to be the better father, or the better mother, or the better friend, or the better community member, or a better boss. I tell my students, my harmonica students, that it takes moments to learn and a lifetime to master. But that daily journey is where all the fun and the joy and the beauty is. Thank you all very much.